Back in 2009, I published with a major Italian publisher, which specifically publishes for businesses or things that involve businesses. And this book was called Your Purse or Your Life. Typical. If you're there and somebody comes up to you with a gun and says, "Give me your purse or you'll die or I'll kill you." Here, the title says, "I want your purse and your life." Now, this is the attitude that we should have towards life. I'm talking about the very strict relationship that there is between self-esteem and abundance. Okay, there's a very strong link between the two. One cannot go without the other. Now, what I said, this is, it's a metaphor, your life and your purse. But you have to aim at both if you want to have self-esteem, not just one. I mean, why just one? Now, the purse represents material well-being. Life represents inner well-being and also the connection that you have with the world around you, with your reality. We don't have to choose. We can have both. What do people think instead? Well, you can't have it all. Says who? Why can you not have it all? You see, there are two ways of approaching life. And one is the one that of a man, of a robber that wants your purse, that wants your money, that wants your material well-being. And that's what we want from life. And he says, "Life, you have to give me this." And the other approach is, life, you have to give me inner peace, inner strength. You have to have both, but you have to understand how that works. So if you're there, if you put yourself on one side and you put reality or your world, whatever you want to call it, on the other side, and you want to say, "Life, give me this," you put yourself on, you stay on the other side, remain on the other side. You're two separate entities where you go and catch and take from the other. And whatever you take is yours, granted, especially material things. They're yours, but that's all you'll have. You'll never have for sure inner peace, inner strength, inner courage. So this is what we really have to understand about how to relate to life. The other thing I will tell you at the end, the other approach, which is different. And we have to go towards that approach. Now, this podcast is dedicated to a self-esteem. Because when in classes that I hold that I do with other people, and I've done with thousands of people in the past 30 years, when I ask the question, what is self-esteem for you? What does it mean? And 9 out of 10 people, even more, I mean, like more than 90%, will tell me that it's about loving oneself. That is wrong. It's not about loving yourself. You love yourself because you have self-esteem. You don't have self-esteem because you love yourself. Look, love in this sense, in this case, is a feeling. It's a very strong, good feeling of love, but it's a feeling, and feelings are just effects. You cannot recreate in yourself effects or feelings for that matter. Something has to happen in your mind that will trigger that feeling. There's no way. If I told you right now, you have to hate yourself, or you have to hate your husband or wife or children, you can't do that. There's no way, no matter how much effort you put into that, you will never do it. At the same time, you cannot force yourself into loving others or yourself. Something has to happen here. You know what? The secret of life is that we love what we value. Let's be honest, we're not saints. And even if we were saints, we would still love what we give value to. You know, why do saints love other people, even the poorest one, even the rejects? They love everybody. They have no value for you, perhaps, but not for the saints or for the righteous. Let's put it that way. Why? Because every single human being is a son of God. And as for them, of course, for them, and because they're sons of love, they have an immense value. That's why they can love them. If we do not associate these rejects to God, we will never be able to love them because they have no value for us. Does that make sense? Well, yes, it does. It makes a lot of sense. We cannot love what we don't value. I mean, see what you really care for in your life. It either has a very high economical value, very high emotional value, or a very high ethical value. So whatever, in whichever of these three branches, let's call it that way, or domains, you want to find something of value, whichever you choose, if they have a strong value, you will love them. In other words, you will never want to part from them. You will never want to do without. And if you lose them, you're gonna freak out because they're so important for you because they have a value. So the question is, how do you value? How do you add value to yourself if you want to love yourself more? That's the question. Now, self-esteem is an unconscious, mostly unconscious evaluation of yourself. You know that every time you do something, any result that you achieve, whether negative or positive, doesn't matter, whatever outcome you have in your life, you are going to score yourself on that. For example, I didn't do very well with my business. So how are you going to rate yourself as a businessman? You're going to give perhaps a 3 or a 4, or an E or an F, depending on which school system or scoring system you have in your country. But anyway, low, and that's going to affect your self-esteem. And you're not going to look at yourself. You're not going to feel that love for yourself, that appreciation for yourself. You're just going to think that you're a jerk. That's not going to work very well. But that's what we do. That's the only way we can assess ourselves. And that is what self-esteem is all about. It's an estimation. That's where the word esteem comes from. It's an estimation of who or what you are based on your personal scoring or rating, whatever you want to call it. For example, if you're a real estate expert and you want to make an estimate of an apartment or a house, you have different parameters that you have to consider, right? How old the house is, how big is it, how far away or near the downtown, or is it out in the fields, whatever. And, the accuracy, the finishing of the house, all the fittings and all that, and all sorts of parameters, and you would score this 4, 9, 10, whatever. And when you've come with an estimate, a detailed estimate, and you make a sum, you have the general estimate upon which you're going to give a price for that house. That's the way it works, right? We do exactly the same thing with ourselves. It's only that we do it unconsciously. We don't do it consciously. And the score that comes out is the feeling that you have. If your score is low, you're going to feel miserable about yourself. And you are not, definitely not, going to love yourself. In fact, you will despise yourself. You can get to that point. If your score is high, you will love yourself. Hey, good pal. And you can even do more than this. That's what self-esteem is all about. It's not about how much you love yourself. Now, In business, it works the same way. You have a product, you have a service that has some value. Now, what is important here is the value that is perceived outside, of course. So it's not exactly like self-esteem, but the principle is the same. If you have um, a service or a product that is great, that's ranked very high, which you believe is ranked very high in the market, you have to give that product or service a value. Otherwise, there is no balance. You cannot give out into the market something that is precious and sell it for a low price. That's unnatural. That's non-systemic and non-sustainable. And you're going to hurt yourself. Now, why would you do that? Only if your self-esteem is low. Because perhaps you know that what you're offering is good, but you who are offering it, you're not. So you don't have that thrust in yourself that will push you to set the price and expecting to have that price being paid for that product and service that you give. That's what it has to be. If you do not have self-esteem, it doesn't matter what kind of product. It could be the best in the world. You will never be able to sell it. So see, things, they all match. What are the three things that you can do to raise your self-esteem? Well, one of these things is that you have to feel to be the cause of all the interactions that take place in your life. In other words, that you are master of what goes on in your life. You're not going to let or allow any external influence to, let's say, get into the way of the interaction that you want in your life. You decide, not others. So set goals, even simple ones. You want to lose weight, you want to I don't know, you want to go to Mexico or Italy, why not? Next year, set yourself goals and you decide what to do to reach that goal. The important thing is that it has to come from you. So decide on something that you really love, that you really care for, that you give value to, and go for it. Don't let anybody get in the way. The second thing is become more knowledgeable about things, not only business. You have to grow your capability of knowing more and more about the world you live in, about the history of the world, about the beauty of the world, about the way the world works. And this will enable you to have stronger impact and influence on others. So it's very important. You understand that? That's the second thing that you can do. Create a strong impact. Because if you can give a strong impact, then you will, from the outside, people will feel this and you will have a strong feedback in return. The third thing and I think that is perhaps the most important, take a stand on whichever issue, in business, in family, in the social, in whatever. If you have an idea of how things should work, and make sure they're ethical, okay, so that your position is ethical, because if it is ethical, it will not get in the way with your most intimate knowledge, which is natural, which is systemic. You know how things work, really work. Whereas if they're not ethical, you will create internal contrast, and that's going to weaken you. So make sure that what you stand for is indeed ethical, that you know things, that those things that you stand for are right. Not that you think. Thinking alone is not enough, but that you know they are right and you stand for it. Oh, that's going to like get your self-esteem up to the stars, because you have the courage, you have the guts to really, stand for what you think is good and true, and making that way a difference for the world. So going back to the burglar, to the robber, or whatever, that wanted to take your purse, where he stands on one side and the outer world is on the other side. When your self-esteem grows stronger and stronger, what happens is that you get closer and closer to the world until you become one thing. So nothing is really yours, even though, officially it is. But whatever you get from that world, abundance, because the world is abundant, although it may not be yours, really yours, you can use it. You can take advantage of it. You can use it. You can benefit from it as to the extent to which you will share what you get from that world with all those around you, with the world itself. So you get from the world, you suck it from the world, it becomes yours. Yes, it becomes yours, but it's not that you can do anything you want with it, as for the other example, but you will retransform it with your internal, let's call it intelligence, let's call it that way, with your internal intelligence, with your internal knowledge, and you can share it back to the world to make it richer. Oh, that's going to make your self-esteem explode. I tell you, it will. See you next time.